Howdy, howdy. We are back for another beautiful episode of Cogdell Law Uncensored. I do have Tommy in the back with me, but next to me, a guest of ours, Sequoia. How's it going, Sequoia?
Hi.
And of course, as usual, the man the people come to see, Dan the man himself. Dan, how's it going? We're in your office. We're in your hometown, your home court. How are you, Dan?
I'm good. I'm old and crotchety, but good.
You're doing well. This beautiful office space. How long have you been in this?
We've been here about 18 months.
18 months. It's sick. I love it. It's obviously capturing just a corner of it here in your room, but can you talk to me a little bit about what you got in front of you? A couple of books,
Yeah. I'm really excited to talk about these, and really these viewers are going to be the first to see them. They're two incredible products. The first is the Insurgent, and the Insurgent is just tap water, but it's really, really good tap water. So Insurgent is one of our sponsors, which is just phenomenal that a tap water company will sponsor us. It's brilliant, and I welcome all competition. The second is the draft of my autobiography. The real autobiography, Sequoia, will come out in a minute, but the temporary one is going to be called Running with Snails, because I really think that captures my essence probably better than, you hear these grandiose lawyers about all these animals they do whatever with, but Running with Snails, this is really where it's at. Well, and I didn't have to buy an island. I didn't have to do anything of the sort. I sat here at my desk with no island purchase necessary, with no hiding any purchase from my wife, and here I am with Running with Snails. It's fucking awesome.
Well, damn, Daniel. Well, that was fun. We do have over 100,000 followers now on TikTok and 50,000 on Instagram in just the 4 months. And here are our first two sponsors, Running with the Snails and the Insurgent. I will say it's about as good as tap water can get. Right. But on a serious note, Sequoia is joining us. Sequoia, do you want to, give Dan and the audience a little bit of your background, kind of who you are, why you're here with us today?
Well, for starters, I'm not going to let him call the book Running with Snails. He can name the first draft, whatever he wants, but we're not calling the book that. It was funny. We were going back and forth on stories. Like we were just talking about, the history of his iconic career and like some of the different trials he's done. And every single one he's describing to me, I'm like, what the fuck? And then he keeps saying, maybe that would be a good title for the book.
It's a working draft. It's a working draft title for sure. What the fuck?
Yeah, we're playing around with that. I've been in publishing a long time. I've been in publishing like 17 years. A long time. And it's funny because it's like a full circle moment for me career-wise working with him, which sounds kind of silly probably to Don because he doesn't know a lot of the story. But I was asking him earlier, do you remember how we met? Which you don't, right?
I do not.
So I was 17 at the time. I was dating a guy, and he lived in this like 4-story house, and we were upstairs in bed sleeping. It was like 2:00 in the morning, and the door gets bashed in, and it's a huge raid. And I wake up to a gun to my head saying, get out of bed, get dressed. He's getting arrested. And he says, the thing he says to me as he's getting taken out to the cop car is, find Dan Cogdell. I'm like, who the fuck is Dan Cogdell? I'm like 17 at the time, right?
Holy shit.
I'm like, who the fuck is Dan Cogdell? So I looked up Dan Cogdell. And the next day, it was a Tuesday, I drove downtown and I walked into your office. And you said, who are you? And I said, my name's Sequoia, and I'm dating Daryl, and he's in jail. And you have to help him. He told me to come find you. And literally, I'm sitting in the office explaining the story, and he calls me from jail. And I put it on speaker, and Dan was right there. And then years later, probably 2 or 3 years later, I was in the magazine industry, and I published my first book, which was here in Houston, for a rapper named Slim Thug. This is how full circle of the moment it is. So that was the first book I ever did. And the photographer for that book is the same photographer
Oh, wow.
that shot Dan today for his cover shoot. And after that, I had stopped dating Daryl years before, but I went to lunch with Daryl like shortly after that cover shoot for Slim Thug. And I told him that I was getting into books and I was doing Slim Thug's book. And he told me, you know who would make an incredible book? Dan. Dan has amazing
Wow.
stories.
And that was 20 years ago?
That was 17 years ago.
Okay.
And then for probably the last 3 or 4 years, I wanted to do a book called The Sport of Kings because I was in a court case in Texas that lasted like 6 years. Fucking hell. And when I went into the courtrooms here, it was a shit show. It was the Wild West. And I was like, who the fuck would ever want to be in a lawsuit or a case in Texas? Like, this place is insane. And one of my lawyers at the time was like, yeah, some of the lawyers here call it the sport of kings, civil suits in Texas. So I was like, oh, that might be a fun book to do. Ever since then, I thought, like, I want to do a book based in Texas on the legal proceeding and what goes on in the courtrooms here. So for the last 3 or 4 years, I would message him on Facebook every once in a while and be like, hey, Dan, have you thought about doing a book yet? Hey, Dan, we should do a book. And then finally, like last year, he was like, all right, I'm ready to talk about it. So career-wise for me, working with him is like a full circle moment.
I mean, that's fascinating. We didn't talk about this prior to recording, so I'm learning this in real time as well. And
We don't talk about much prior to recording, to be fair.
that's fair. That's fair. But I mean, what a full circle moment, and who better to profile Dan than somebody who had that kind of experience and meeting him really early.
So talk about full circle moments. So as some of our listeners know, I've been in AA now for, I don't know, 3.5 years, whatever. And I brought Daryl in. Mm-hmm. Daryl's been sober now for pushing 2 years. And, I never thought I would see me in AA.
Let alone Daryl.
I sure as hell didn't think every Saturday I'd be sitting next to Daryl at AA, but here we are, and it's been a great experience for both of us for sure.
Yeah, it's wild. So,
And
so
Daryl,
wild
we
to
won't
me.
say his last name because he's an AA, and that'll kind of violate the spirit of that. But he's an interesting cat. He's very smart. I mean, just very smart.
Wicked smart, yeah.
But you would never know it unless you ask him like 38 questions, because he replies with these sort of monosyllabic, dismissive, answers, and you just think he's a big kind of toned, fit goofball. He's smart as hell.
Yeah.
And he has been through some serious shit. I mean, some straight up gangster shit.
Well-
I mean, real life gangster shit.
Yeah. I mean, still to this day, I was like, if I need to bury a body,
Oh, yeah, he's first guy you call.
I would call Daryl.
For
Yeah.
sure.
Well-
sure.
And he would arrive, no questions
Yeah.
asked, with the muriatic acid, with the pickaxe, with the
Yeah.
shovel, with the body
I mean,
bags.
we dated like for 6 months, 17 years ago, and he'd still be the one I'd like pick up the phone and call.
he sounds-
with a dead body.
maybe certainly one of, if not the most loyal person I know.
Genuine as hell.
Sounds like
Super genuine.
the wolf from Pulp Fiction a little bit.
Oh, he's Daryl whipped the wolf's ass.
Yeah.
That's not even close.
Yeah. But he admired Dan so much that, like, I remember after I met you, after I went to your office, he started, because we had just started dating then, so I didn't really know him that well, but he started telling me stories and just, like, idolized Dan so much. That's what, for me, like, later in life, when I was thinking about doing a book regarding Texas and the law scene here, that's what made me go, ooh,
Like Dan has to be.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let the record be shown. This conversation that you guys had was way before we started the social media stuff. for
Oh,
Dan.
yeah.
Way before.
Way before.
Yeah.
Way before.
And, generally, a lot of these influencers or people who get a big following on social media will go the route of creating a book behind their following, right? Whereas, he's got 42 plus years of, criminal defense experience and stories that we still haven't found the bottom of the well of, right? Like, we're still kind of going through them, and it's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, it's just been since May since we've started this, Dan. And again, just to reflect on some of the numbers, about to cross 100K. We're about 99K right now on TikTok.
Now, for the record, is 100,000 followers More or less than 1,700 followers, because there are people out there that say they have the #1 rated legal podcast in the entire state of Texas, and I just looking at the numbers, and is 100,000 more or less than 1,700?
Well, I'll have to ask ChatGPT if it's more, but I think it might be. And you know, again, for the record, organic. We haven't paid any promotions. We haven't done anything but just put your content out, put your stories out, and it's
and another podcast. I heard they had like 60,000 views, 60,000 on one post. So is 4 million more or less than 60,000? Because I got to get these rankings straight.
Yeah, it's a little bit more, and you know, yesterday we put a post out.
We do not claim we are the #1 rated podcast on legal podcasts, because first off, there's no such thing. It reminds me, and this is just me, when A&M claimed they won a national championship in 1939. It was completely made up. There was no national championship in 1939 because we were at fucking war. And you would think the Aggies would know that. But it is on the side of their stadium. And I don't want to be compared to anything fake. That's all.
That's fair, man. And, you know, for me, it's like we're riding the high of this every single day. And we put a post out earlier this morning, and it's got almost 100,000 views. And there's clearly such an appetite and an audience for your stories and your perspective and your insights. And just, you know, Sequoia and I were talking prior to just the fact that you're just like an authentic person who is off the cuff. You don't really care too much about what people think or what people have to say. But, you know, I ask you almost every episode, but I just have to continue. What's it like? Like, what's it like when you're crossing the road and you run into someone that knows you as the TikTok lawyer now, and like, hey, I've seen you before on TikTok when you've been doing this and been in the game for as long as you have.
It's complimentary and it's embarrassing at the same time, right? And I'm flattered by it for sure. And look, anybody that says they don't want the attention, then get the fuck off TikTok. That's what you're on TikTok for, is for the attention. I think I'm a little more altruistic. I can say that without throwing my arm out of socket, patting myself on the back, I hope, because I don't just talk about how great I am or all these cases that I won or whatever. I try to get into the details. I try to get into a successful cross-examination or a good opening statement or a good final argument. And that's not going to benefit me. At the end of the day, if I put out any trade secrets or any keys to my kingdom, all I'm doing is educating, at least in part, the enemy, right? A prosecutor's going to know what I'm doing when I get up there and I throw out the burden of proof explanations or what have you. But I think any good lawyer, I think any lawyer should contribute and give back. So part of my spirit in doing that is in educating lawyers. Part of it is just showing, non-lawyers what the hell we do and what it's like. And sure, the third is, do I want to increase my name recognition and brand and all that? Of course I do. That's why I'm here. But the answer to your question, Aaron, is it's weird to me. I mean, I got off a plane from going to the Valley. Side note, why do they call Harlingen and McAllen the Valley? There's nothing valley about it. There's no hills. There's no greenery. It's the least valley thing I know. But anyway, I was getting off the plane coming back from the Valley, and this young person, Mr. Cogdell, can I have a selfie? I'm like, do you want to get a bond? I mean, what's going on here? Why do you want a selfie with me? And it cracks me up when Sequoia and I were going to lunch the other day. The person stopped me. You're the TikTok lawyer.
But the timing on it was perfect, because we had just done like 6 hours of him talking about the most iconic, epic cases that he's tried, right. Like this amazing legal career. And then we walk out of the building and someone's like, you're the TikTok lawyer.
And that's the point. I mean, the Branch Davidian, the Enron, whatever. And no one knows me for that. It's like, you're the TikTok guy. I'm like, whatever works, dude. Whatever works.
Well, it's really cool because again, for the record, a lot of people don't understand this, but you haven't even touched the app yourself. Like you're not behind posting, you're not doing any of that stuff. And Tommy, my partner, is really handling a lot of the back end stuff and posting. And I say that to say you get so many direct messages and so many people reaching out, and 70%, 75% are other lawyers, are other attorneys. And you see the comments, that's public, everyone can see comments, but the DMs only we can see. And it's so many people appreciating you. It's so much like adulation. It's so much like, we really love this content. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, I'm 2 years in. Hey, I'm studying in law school. Hey, I want to go this route. What do you think? It's like they're coming to you because they see somebody who is willing to share, willing to give, those lessons that you do, those seminars at scale, you've gave it at different schools and different, conferences and what have you, but doing it publicly for free online, giving your time, right? Because obviously this has been an investment of both money and time, but your most valuable commodity is your time at, the type of job that you do and the age that you are, and, investing and leaning so hard into this has been, we have nothing but gratitude, because obviously we saw something valuable in it early and you were willing to take a chance on us. But it's really cool to see how many lawyers are now telling even Tommy and I that, how much they really appreciate and hey, can you do a segment on this? Hey, can you talk to us about, how this specific thing works? And, we really just think that's cool. Sequoia, you've known Dan for, a little bit longer than Tommy and I, but what are your thoughts on that? How do you receive that information?
So I work in like long form content, right? So book publishing, it's a very, very different world than social media, but a lot of it intersects, especially with a lot of my authors, more notable kind of celebrity authors. And I think in this day and age, people crave authenticity. And so it's no question to me that people are attracted to him because he's so raw and authentic in everything that he does. There's no filter there. It's just kick you in the balls, in your face, just pure character. And I think that that's one of the things that I admire a lot about him.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that that's what the public is drawn to in many ways. In a day and age where we just get filtered, quick content, it's nice to have somebody authentic in front of your face. And that's what I want to capture in the book as well.
Yeah, that's really my goal with the book, because when you tell people, unless you're Kobe or Michael Jordan or, an Uber celebrity, when you tell people that you're writing a book, your autobiography, the first reaction is, who the fuck do you think you are, dude? And that's a legitimate response, particularly with, from a pop culture standpoint. A guy like me, I'm a total unknown, right? I ain't anywhere near in that league, and that's never been my goal. But the reason I want to do the book, it's a couple of reasons. Number one, my mentor, Racehorse Haynes, he had legitimately a lifetime of stories that the public will never know about, because hell, nobody even knows who he is these days. And he was the rock star. He was the Michael Jordan of criminal defense. He was the alpha and omega, and he never wrote his book. And to me, that's a tragedy, because younger lawyers could have learned a great deal from Mr. Haynes in his story. So I want to write the book not so much as self-adulation, but as retelling the experience. So it'll be around, and my son and my grandson and my great-grandson will know what the hell I did. But to let the public know what it's like, because, and Sequoia and I were laughing about this yesterday, what people think I do and what I do is incredibly different, right? People think I drive around in a chauffeured, Rolls Royce or something, having sipping wine and signing autographs or cashing big checks. None of that is true, right? It's a very gritty, hard, blue collar sort of life, and we deal with people that are experiencing the worst times of their life. And we see the impact that their conduct, or the allegations of their conduct, have taken not only on them, but on people who might be victims. I mean, I spent yesterday in court dealing with a fellow that I won't go into the weeds about, but he did some really bad stuff, right? And he's trying to make amends, and he's trying to do the right thing, and everybody's stepping on his neck. and we were set for a hearing. His parents, bless their heart, they came in from Horseshoe Bay. They had flown in from out of the country to come to the court, and the judge was sick, or not the judge. The judge's baby was sick, so the judge stayed home, right? And the parents were just livid, right? Because this guy's in custody. He's been in custody for 4 months. We've been working for this hearing to try to get him out. Yeah, he did some bad stuff before, but he certainly paid his price. So let's let him rehab, move on. And the poor father was just taking my head off. You're supposed to be the best. You're not doing anything. Can't you get a nut? I mean, and he was livid at me. And my job is to not bark back at him and say, you know, kiss my ass, motherfucker. I'm doing all. You just have to let them emote. And, you know, an hour later he comes in, I'm working with his wife. He says, I'm so sorry, I don't mean to take it out on you. But the point of that diatribe is we are a pincushion for a lot of people, right? Everybody, we are the donkey the tail gets pinned on. The judges are upset with us, the clients are upset with us, the families of the clients are upset with us, the victims are upset with us. It's not a lifestyle that most people think it is. I'm lucky. I'm grateful for my practice. I don't mean to sound otherwise, but again, my point is what people think my life is like and what my life is like, they're not even in the same country code, much less zip code.
Yeah, no, I think that's very important. A lot of the DMs we get are also very, it's sad. People feel like they're in a helpless situation. They're reaching out to you via us in need of help. And, you know, we had a conversation and a theme of redemption and trying to get that second and third chance. And a lot of people are coming to you and looking for you to give that to them, even though you're not necessarily, like you said, the person who's in control of the entire situation. You're just playing your part. But it's powerful the work that you do. And I want to kind of focus on that because we talked a little bit about this, Dan. A lot of times you're getting reached out to, at least through us and the short sample size and experience we've had with you so far. And we're learning a lot through this as well, right? You're getting reached out to by people who've already taken representation and things haven't really gone well. And then they're looking for you to come play cleanup. Can you explain to me what that actually means, what that looks like, and why that's not necessarily something, or if that's something that you can do or will do, or what's that look like?
Yeah, it's particularly with the leads, for lack of a better description, we've gotten off TikTok or Instagram or the social media where they're upset with their lawyer. Their lawyer's not doing what they want, or their lawyer's not doing what they think they should, or whatever. And they'll reach out to me. You know, my lawyer hadn't done X, my lawyer hadn't done Y, my lawyer hadn't done Z. Well, first off, excuse me. First off, there's a difference between telling a client what he wants to hear and what he needs to hear, right? We are not always the purveyor of good news, right? A lot of times their situation isn't what they wanted to be. We are oncologists, right? We're cancer doctors, so sometimes the only from a parallel standpoint, the options are, you know, poison, cut, or burn, right? We do radiation, we do chemotherapy, or we do surgery, right? And no one wants to go through radiation. No one wants to go through chemotherapy. No one wants to go through surgery. None of those are pleasant. And the same sort of parallel experiences occur on the criminal side. But again, what people don't really understand, it is so much harder to come in and clean up if the original lawyer has screwed up than it would be to do what needs to be done in the first place. Think of it as a surgery. A botched surgery is way harder to clean up than the original surgery. A bad repair job, a bad paint job on a car is a whole lot harder to fix than doing the right paint job in the first place. So if I have one message for consumers of legal products, hire the best lawyer that you can the very first time that you can, because it gets harder to repair or harder to correct what the first lawyer did improperly. And that's just, and it's more expensive, it's more time consuming, it's more difficult, it's all of those things. So people think they can, well, let me hire a cheap lawyer. And if they can't get it done, then I'll spend some money on a good lawyer. It's the exact opposite. You should hire the best lawyer you can. and nothing about this is a dry run.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Of course.
I have a question. What do you say would be the characteristics of the best? There's a lot of like Power 100 that people pay to be a part of. What should you be looking for as the best lawyer?
Look at their reputation among other lawyers, right? That if I could give one free legal advice on how to find the best lawyer, talk to other lawyers and get a recommendation from other lawyers. Don't look at billboards. Don't look at TikTok. Don't look at Instagram. Call the best lawyer you know, and especially if that lawyer is not a criminal defense lawyer. If you're looking for the best criminal defense lawyer, call your real estate lawyer, call your probate lawyer, call your tax lawyer, call whomever. And that's not where they traffic, but they're going to know, right? Second off, look at their credentials. Where do they go to law school? How'd they do in law school? How many years have they had in practice? What are their flagship cases? Good lawyers don't happen overnight, right? I've been doing this for 42 years. Do I think I'm a better lawyer than I was a 5-year lawyer? Of course. Do I think that I'm a better lawyer than I was a 10-year lawyer? Of course. But it's not just years in the game. It's what you've accomplished in the game. What other cases has he won? What cases has he lost? What memberships is he a member of? There's the two best, in my view, the two best ranking systems for lawyers are Chambers. Chambers is I actually think they're out of the UK, but a Chambers rating, if you're a tier 1 Chambers lawyer, you're legit, right? They have tier 1, band 1, band 2. You'd think I'd know the difference because I'm a band 1, but it's band 1, band 2. So if you're a band 1 Chambers, you're a legit lawyer. There's an outfit called the American College of Trial Lawyers. They have both civil and criminal lawyers, but it's the top 1% of all lawyers, of all trial lawyers. So you get screened, you have to be recommended, you have to be nominated. They do a background check. They talk to every lawyer you ever tried a case against. They talk to every judge you've ever appeared in front of. If you're in the American College, you're legit. There's another outfit called ABOTA, the American Board of Trial Advocates. They're only civil lawyers, but if you're in ABOTA, you're legit. So don't look at Google rankings or Yelp rankings or what have you. Look at the substantive organizations that rank lawyers: Chambers, the American College, ABOTA, and look at the lawyer's reputation.
No, that's a great question, Sequoia, and I think those specifics matter because, again, most people are going to flat Google and just see the first 3-4 links that come up and just go based off that.
And we talked about this offline, Aaron, but now if you ask, hey, ChatGPT, how good a lawyer is Dan Cogdell, and it'll spit out something very, very positive, right?
He's a silver fox devil. What did they say? Groff said he's silver fox devil.
But spoiler alert, a lot of that is driven by how many times I'm mentioned on the interweb, right?
Yeah.
And I would not have gotten that same stellar ranking before I started this show. And this show doesn't make me a better lawyer, right?
Yeah.
It just gets my name out in the ether where the algorithms pick up on it and they research and they come to their conclusion. It cracks me up when, how'd you get here? Well, ChatGPT said you were the best criminal lawyer in the state. And I'm thinking to myself, where the fuck was ChatGPT 6 months ago, right? It's like, how does this even work? But and I like it. I appreciate it. I'm flattered, blah, blah, blah. But I wouldn't ask ChatGPT as my sole basis for determining who I'm going to hire. It's just like a billboard. That's a data point. That shouldn't be the beginning or the end of your search.
Yeah, no, it's funny because when we first had you on as a guest on our podcast, we leveraged the LLMs, ChatGPT, Grok, what have you, to get more understanding and do some research about you. And it told us that you worked a case for Jay-Z.
Right.
So these tools do hallucinate and they don't give you, the accurate answers all the time. So you're saying that the best case for somebody doing their research is kind of use their trust channels, ask other experts, and let them in Chambers. And what was the other one?
The American College of Trial Lawyers.
American College
and
of Trial
ABOTA
Lawyers.
For civil lawyers.
Yeah, so do a little bit of research up front because it could save you a lot of money in the back end. If you do come with the price tag, but in the end you're going to give the best type of effort and the best type of representation to help people, and hopefully our audience can learn a little bit more about that. And this digital footprint that you've created in the past few months, being on TikTok, being on Instagram, is impressive, and it does show a lot and tell a lot of your stories. But I do highly recommend, and I'm very, very excited for your book to come out, because it's going to be a lot more thorough and a little more of a deep dive into all the cases you've worked and other stories of your personal life that we just haven't and can't cover in short format clips or on a podcast, right? I mean, over time we'll get to some of them, but the book's going to be a lot more thorough. Sequoia, can you give us a little bit more of a breakdown of what to expect in this book?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is the way he just described it is, you would think that he wanted to do the book all along. I fully had to convince him to do this book, to be clear. Like, the first few times we chatted about it, I would say I'm really impressed that he's embraced TikTok in the way he has, because I would say that, out of all the lawyers I know, which I know far too many lawyers, he's very undercover, incognito, like, not in your face abrasive about his accomplishments and his ego. And so that was one of the conversations that we had to have where, part of my job as a publisher is leading him and showing him why it's important to capture these stories. And that was a conversation we had about Racehorse Haynes, was that he lived an incredible life and iconic career that a lot of people will never know about. Right. And some of those stories are getting told through Don and Don's career. And the first two cases that we're highlighting in the book are while he was working for Racehorse Haynes. But he had an entire career that nobody will really ever know about. And I didn't want to see that happen with Don, because I feel like he's a legend and that should be captured, not just for the law student who's interested in it. And that's part of the tightrope that we're going to have to walk, is how do we make it interesting to the law student? Well, simultaneously, how do we make it interesting to the soccer mom in New Hampshire, right? So, like, how do we capture not just his legal career, but his life during that time period? Because I've, worked with a lot of people who are the best in their field at what they do, and they have to sacrifice an enormous amount of their life to become that good at what they do. And Don is no exception to that. I mean, I think that that's going to be a vitally important part of the book that we're intersecting, is his personal life and the tumultuous nature of his personal life.
There is that word again, tumultuous.
Well, shit, man, I'm just glad to somehow fucking wiggle my way in and be a part of this little story that you got going. Maybe we could get a little shout out in a chapter towards the end of the book.
Yeah, wow, there's an
You'll be more than a footnote.
A little footnote, yeah, a little
as
footnote.
long as we're promoting it on TikTok, absolutely.
No, but on a serious note, it's something that I'm actually genuinely super excited about, and the audience on TikTok and Instagram and all everybody in the DM, I'm assuming will be too, because it's just deeper, and having a digital footprint is great, but having a true autobiography and a real story that you share and continuing Racehorse's legacy like you have and you continue and you will do in this book is really fucking cool, because I didn't know who he was before I met you. Right. We hardly knew who you were until the Epic case.
Sequoia knew who he was. Maybe
I didn't. Not until I started doing research with you.
And it's cool because our comment section is educating me a lot about Racehorse too, and they're like jumping in and talking about Racehorse, and it's like, oh shit, like they're excited to see his protege. They're excited to see the stories resurface. Like they're contributing to the conversation.
It's hard to say protege and 69 years old in the same sentence.
Listen, you're the Jedi master, right? And you're still the Jedi, getting to the mastery level. But no, it's been really cool to be a part of, and all this is just really fucking fun for us. Like we, Dan putting his arm around us a little bit and introducing to, his world, meeting people like you, Sequoia, meeting all the other people we've met through Dan in a short period of time. It's just fascinating to see these people and how they've contributed to, both the law, the world of law, but also just to society and the community in general, all the different fundraisers, all the different just charity work, all different people, all the handshake, all the shit has been super cool. I mean, it's like we're kids in a candy shop, like listening to these stories. So that book I might, read and read and read over again. Tommy, I know you don't have a mic, but do you have anything you want to say that I'll re-say so it can be on camera? But yeah, nothing there. Cool. Well,
today.
Cool. So Sequoia, book's gonna come. how long do we have to wait? When do you feel like it's coming?
I would give it a year.
Give about a year.
I'd like it to be out fourth quarter. Fourth quarter is usually when the big memoirs are released, like the Obama memoirs, stuff like that.
It'll be fourth quarter 26, not fourth quarter 25.
No, not fourth quarter of 25. No way. No, so we're looking at fourth quarter of 26 is what we're looking at.
In general, is there, just from like your professional lens, like is there a time of year or a time for a book to come out where it's like hot? Like it's like
it depends on
the
the book, right? So like summer is good for fiction. Right, romance fiction, things like that.
I see.
Memoirs, big
There's no
memoirs.
romance fiction in this book. There may be romance or attempts at romance, but it won't be fiction.
Big memoirs are fourth quarter.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah.
And I know Running with the Snails is just one of our sponsors and not really Dan's book, but do you have a title for this? And we've played with some that you've mentioned, but
we played with what the fuck just because it's like the sentence that I say so often when we're going into each of these trials. But no, I'm like, I actually was, me and my team were playing around with ChatGPT, asking it to research done and give us some potential titles, which I'll go over with you.
Did it spit out?
Yeah, it spit out a whole bunch. We're pretty good, actually. But no, I mean, like, he's gotten such a TikTok following, which I feel like could help us a lot with the book, pushing it, promoting it.
Totally.
I kind of want to know what TikTok thinks
Listen,
the title should
give
be.
us
I'm like
some
kind of interested in that.
Suggestions are to a comment DM. Give us suggestions on what you feel like Dan's autobiography should be based off of everything that you've seen about him so far.
And no need to be nice.
No need to be nice.
No need to be nice.
We bring up
I got a
Racehorse.
thick skin.
We bring up Racehorse Haynes. I love that nickname. I've been like fucking playing with nicknames for Dan so much. He's got Teaser Pony here as his associate. They're just cool.
I didn't understand that. He had to explain it to me, and then he walked back in right as he's explaining what a teaser pony is. And I was like, oh yeah, I see that actually.
Yeah, shit. Yeah. So, the lawyer's lawyer is something that we've been kind of playing with a little bit because that's what he seems to be to the people. He's the lawyer's lawyer. So maybe it's a play on his nickname. Maybe it's something the audience comes up with, but it is a working title. So feel free to contribute. We might choose the best one. We'll send them over to Sequoia. But Sequoia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on.
Not sure you're ever going to beat this.
We are not calling the book Running with Snails. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Awesome.